Rountree. It's a pleasure to have you back in the Jackson Media House, my guy.
Happy to be here, man.
Straight from one of the best wars of the year. I think the fans and all of us here at Jackson are super excited to always have you in here. But today we're very honored because you went out there and you went out on your shield. I definitely want to talk about the fight. I want to talk about everything about you. During the fight, we heard guys like Michael Bisping, guys like Joe Rogan, even TJ Dillashaw on our recap podcast talk about how you are one of the most skilled, technically sound MMA fighters we've ever seen in the division, and that you are light years ahead of certain people when it comes to the way that you're able to put together your camps and the skill level you have when you fight. Where does this skill, where does this technically sound fighter come from? What do you attribute it to?
Oh, man. I think it has a lot to do with just like my vision. I think how I want to see myself in the future, you know, and like kind of the picture that I'm trying to paint for myself as a martial artist. So it's nice to hear things like that come from guys like TJ, Michael, you know, Joe Rogan, because it's a part of the mission. Like I work hard for those type of you know, those type of credits, or you know, so that and just training and focus. I'm a bit of a perfectionist when it comes to training, and I just want to make sure I remain a student of the game, and I do things, I guess, in a way that looks good. You know what I mean? Like I when I watch my fights back, I also want to be kind of impressed. So it's, yeah, there's a couple of different things that come with it.
You spent a few years going back to Thailand to master your craft?
I was there for a bit before COVID, like almost 3 years. And I fell in love with it there because of the discipline, you know? Like I said, just being a student of the game, learning new ways to do things, and to also, I wanted to do it how they did it. You know, when I went to Thailand and I saw Muay Thai.
What is it?
It like fight, you know, and strike. The way that they fight and strike, it has a certain look, and I thought that that's a look that I want to try to, you know, replicate in the cage. Yeah,
you emulate it very well. I think the way you carry yourself in the cage, the way you have your body language, it always shows that you're very confident in your striking, you're very confident in your kicking. We saw you use it beyond what most people would say is skilled against Jamal Hill. You had an amazing fight. Before we talk about this fight, talk to me about the camp. Going to this camp with Yuri, what went well, what didn't go well, what did you feel? Did you have injuries? Give me kind of a behind the curtain look.
This camp actually surprisingly went really well. There was a lot of work that went into this camp. No days off. You know, Sunday's my rest day, but even then it was just, you know, I was really pushing the pace to make sure that I was prepared for, you know, for a guy like Yuri. I knew everything that he's capable of, and, you know, the amount of energy that this guy puts out. So I needed to make sure that during the camp, I met the expectations, but also exceeded them, you know? So it was a great camp, had a strong team. John Wood, Lorenzo Pavica, Christian Knowles, Jonathan Haggerty came and joined us. It was nice to have his energy around too as he prepares for a championship fight. So great training partners, man. Like, hey, it was good. The energy was really, really good in camp. I couldn't have had a better support system. Wife holding it down, like everything was great. What I'd say, you know, it was hard to say that things didn't work because we did such a good job as a team to make the right adjustments when needed. When we needed to make adjustments, we made it, and we communicated well. Yeah, but I think now is the time where we kind of look at it and we say, okay, what didn't work? You get what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, as we take like a bird's eye view of the fight and we kind of look at things that work, things that didn't work, us as your fans, us as your friends, brands that support you. We saw you early in the fight win most of the exchanges with Yuri. Your speed was just phenomenal. It seemed like you had all the answers. He couldn't knock you off your game. Did you feel the speed advantage early in the fight?
I absolutely felt the speed advantage. I'd say after the first round is when I really started to feel it and realize, like, okay, I could touch this guy and not have to worry so much about the return. And then the strikes that he did land within the first or second round, I didn't really feel too threatened by them. And I know a lot of it was, because of the speed and the footwork and stuff that I trained to be prepared for something and someone like him who is a bit unpredictable. So I needed to be fast on my feet.
Yeah. We talk about being unpredictable. We talk about him thriving in violence. We've talked about him on the Jackson podcast recap with TJ and Rampage, that he's someone who can understand the art of violence extremely well. I mean, he's a former champion. You fought 3 former champions in a row almost, and I feel like you fought them at a high level. But did you feel like the violence he has and the way he kind of thrives in this unorthodox style, did you feel like you prepared well for that during camp? Is that something you can even prepare for?
I'd say that in camp I prepared for it as well as I could. But, in camp we can only do but so much. The fight's the real deal. And, I was as prepared as I could be. So I wasn't surprised by it happening. But that was his area of, he does thrive in those areas. And I think for me, I'm willing to go there. I'm not afraid to go to hell. And it's, it's like a gift and a curse. But he did what he needed to do with the little bit of time he had left.
Did you feel when you were throwing your power shots against him, I was critical about it in the recap as your friend, as a fan of fighting, in your fight against Jamal Hill, another former champion in Baku, you had this flow to you, this ease. It, like I said, it gave me this flashback of like an Anderson Silva type of fight, very loose, very, very stretchy in motion. And then with this fight, it seemed like you came in with something a little bit more to prove, maybe more an edge. Your shoulders were up, your hands were fisted the whole time, you were tight. It seemed like you wanted blood from the get-go. We saw you kind of do a little mock in the beginning of his walk. And then other than that, it was showtime the whole time. Did you feel that going into this fight, there was something you had to prove, or was there an edge, or what was it about you in this fight?
What I can say to that, and I think I speak on behalf of every single fighter around the world on the roster, any other promotion, no matter what, we got to show up. We've signed that contract. Hypothetically speaking, I could have woken up that day and it just been a fucking bad day. You know what I mean? It's just, there are elements of life that sometimes we can only do our best to control.
How'd your body feel that day?
I wanted to explode, really. I felt good.
Rumors of you backstage at the fight. I have a lot of friends that fight. I have a lot of friends that work at the UFC. We have a lot of friends in general here, Jackson Podcast and Jackson the brand. And a lot of people were talking to me that you were extremely anxious backstage, or there was something about you like you wanted to kill someone.
I just had a lot of energy. And it's hard to hold back energy when it's just built up and ready to come out, and there's no good or bad. It's not I had to go out of good energy or bad energy or anxious energy. I just had a lot of energy, and it can be hard to contain in a 12 by 12 locker room.
Yeah. Was there something you were able to do different in Baku compared to Vegas with controlling that energy?
I just didn't have the same energy in Baku. My energy in Baku was just different that day. I woke up on fight day and everything did feel a little bit more flowy and relaxed. I woke up on this day ready to go to war from the moment I opened my eyes. You know what I mean? And and do I know why? No, but I did everything I could to just literally make the best out of the day. Does that make sense? It's
unless you're a fighter too. Obviously, I train with you guys and train with other people here. I'm not a fighter. I do it for fun, and it's a passion of mine. That's why we have this podcast. But fighting is a completely different animal. Subconsciously, your mental is not something you can control. It's not like you can be positive when you want to be positive. There's this fear factor that just doesn't leave. Even when sparring in here, I can relate just a small fracture to what you're saying. There's not something you can control.
No, you can't really control it. And the thing is, and why I have a lot of respect for fighters regardless, just across the board, is no matter what we feel or we're going through, we show up and we give our effort in the cage. And like that alone says a lot, you know? Again, like I was saying, hypothetically speaking, like something could have happened to me that day. No one knows, you know what I mean? Someone in my family could have had a problem or blah, blah, blah. And like, as humans and as people who like possess feelings and stuff, like something could have happened to me that day. And I still have to show up and be in that locker room and walk out at 8:15 when they're telling me, hey, it's time to make that walk. And I've got to put everything else behind as much as I can. You get what I mean? Every thought, every emotion, everything. And I just have to be like, look, I'm here now and I'm going to do the best with what I have now. So, you know, I'm not saying anything specifically, but like that is something that I feel like should be a little bit more understood, is that like no matter what, man, as fighters, we have to show up and we got to do our job.
You have a very strong mental grasp on yourself, relationships, friendships, fighting, the art of martial arts, the art of life. You always seem to be a student of the game, and everything you look at, it seems like you look at it from a different lens. And I say that as a friend just because the conversations we personally have had, you know, and I've always been a fan of the way you look at life. You know, going into this fight, did you look at power? Did you look at the martial art of each fighter? Like you went from Alex Pereira to Jamal Hill to now Yuri, 3 former champions in a row. Like out of those 3, did any of them really surprise you? Did any of them have something different that threw you off your game mentally?
You know, I don't think that any of them threw me off of my game mentally. I think that the last fight, though, I mean, the result of the third round and the fight ultimately, that definitely took me by surprise. The Alex fight was a bit upsetting, but that was my first time, you know, fighting a guy like him for 5 rounds. The Jamal fight went how I imagined it was going to go. And then this fight against Yuri, it didn't go how I imagined it would go at the very end. You know, at the very end. So, I mean, that was a surprise to me, because I felt like when it comes to crossing my T's and dotting my I's in camp, I mean, on paper, I believe that I did.
Yeah, I mean, you went 2.5 rounds with absolute just control, full control. The guy could not get you off your game, but seems like a few jabs here, a few jabs there, maybe one connect. And you get baited into these wars, and you get baited into a war that we kind of see the old Khalil Rountree. We see someone who's willing to, like you said, go to the depths of hell to get a victory, when it seems like there's 2 versions of you. And then there's this martial artist who comes from maybe like this Anderson Silva flow. And I say that because I know you guys have a history a little bit, but it seems like this guy was able to bait you. It seems like that's what Yuri wanted. He wanted to connect with you in a way that threw you off and had you start brawling with him. Did you feel the same way?
You know, in the moment, I didn't, because from my experience and from my eyes, it was just like everything was going well until it wasn't. You know, I don't think that it was something that grew progressively, where he finally started to figure me out and then get the best of me. I think that it really was just a matter of 1 or 2 punches that it was going well until it wasn't. And that was the biggest surprise for me. But when you say there's 2 sides of me, I can see how you can, you know, kind of make that visually, like observation. 2 fighting styles.
Do you agree with what TJ Dillashaw said? He said that you throw with intent for full domination, full knockout power, and everything you throw, it seemed that way. Everything you're throwing is a full, like you are trying to end this fight with 1 connect. Do you agree?
That's not my approach. It looks like that, you know, and yes, I'm throwing heavy strikes, but I'm not throwing 100% every time. I just can't help that I have power and have speed, and you know what I mean, and like to use the fullness of my abilities. So like every time I swing, I'm not really thinking 100%. And when I do, you know, we've seen, I mean, there have been some knockouts where I've thrown 10%, 20%, and it still knocked someone out. There's been punches where I've thrown 100% and it doesn't do as much damage. So I'm not always thinking 100%, although it may, you know, look that way. But I think a big learning, especially from this fight, is just how hard it is to achieve balance. You know, like like it's just the journey of fighting and of life and just in general, like balance, because yes, I do have these kind of polarizing sides in a way, and it's my kind of like my job, my journey to find that middle ground to.
Yeah. And you have plenty of time to figure it out. You have plenty of time to get to where you want to be, which is, I know, a world champion. You've said it many times, and I don't think there's a single person who follows MMA that doesn't believe you're not world champion caliber fighter. I think that you have everything it takes to be a world champion. It's just everybody has a different path of getting there. Now that the dust has settled a little bit, it's only been a few days. I try to call you that night of the fight. You have a beautiful wife who looks out for you and makes sure that your team's always there for you. So I was connecting with her. We just wanted to make sure everything was dialed in with you, and seemed like you were in good spirits. You're already mentally kind of always looking forward and moving forward. Do you know what's next for you?
It's funny because like the dust is still settling, like I think it's settled enough for me to at least have a little bit more of a clear vision, but it hasn't settled enough for me to start planning.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So dust is settled.
Planning means like the next fight.
Yeah, next fight or even what's next. I think the dust is settling. And right now, as the dust is settling, I see you. I see my wife. I see my mom. I see the people that are closest to me right now. That's all I see in the mixture of like the dust settling. Now I think now is the perfect time to, to gather the people that I see now and kind of talk and talk about what's next. My coaches included,
Take your time.
Yeah,
No rush.
There's really no rush.
Uncle Dana hit you up, try to get you back in the cage already?
No, they've been really respectful. UFC has been really respectful. I know they want me to go back in there and do what I do, but they're respectful of time, which really is helpful to me because I do want to take this time and talk with coaches and get down to everybody. We just say, okay, what worked, what didn't work, and what are we going to do moving forward? Make sure we have things in plan, and then just keep moving forward. That's the main thing. So I'm just allowing myself this time to let this one settle. I'm in good spirits, but let it settle, and I'll start to build for what's next.
Yeah, I think we've seen with many athletes from Twitch and Jet Lawrence and Hunter Lawrence and Moto to Ryan Sheckler and P-Rod and Nyjah and skating to jiu-jitsu legends like Buchecha, Jansen. I mean, I think it takes time for an athlete at any level of competition, whatever they go through, win, loss, to regroup, rethink what the process is for them to again go to the next level. As someone who sponsors athletes, I've been working with athletes for 15 years. I think the best thing to do is always when you regroup, you take the time not to be rushed, so you figure it out the right way. And I think you always do a good job at that.
Thank you.
We saw you do a phenomenal job in a great camp after the Alex Pereira fight, going to Jamal Hill, worked phenomenal. You looked skilled, you looked ready. Not saying you didn't look ready in this fight, but I think you're good at this part. And I think this is where you'll thrive and you'll figure out the next level of who Khalil Rountree is. We've seen your training at Sanso Performance Studio with guys like Jansen and Nick Maximov, Buchecha, Bernardo, our head coach of jiu-jitsu, Yogi and Gabriel Silva have talked, and we've all watched you train here. We've even watched you train with Luke Rockhold. So we've seen you train with some of the top athletes in their disciplines. You had your camp in Vegas. We saw you training in many videos right near Merab. Kind of break down a little bit to me how good Merab is in the gym compared to his phenomenal fight we just saw.
Merab in the gym, it's really hard to say that he's any different in the gym than he is in the cage.
Really?
I promise you this is a 100% true story. At 12 o'clock in the afternoon on fight day, Saturday, October 4th, Merab sparred 5 rounds in the cage, live, on the day of his fight. Because that's just who he is.
That's unreal.
Yes.
5 full live rounds.
5 full live rounds at 12 o'clock, not even half a day before he has to be in the arena to put on the biggest fight of his career. That's just him. You cannot make it up. So to be around that, I mean, it's just another experience. Most guys will sit in the hotel room or try to collect their thoughts or do whatever, maybe even get like a bike ride in on the assault bike to kind of burn some energy. I've never in my life seen somebody spar 5 full rounds the day that they have to fight and go do another 5 full rounds with Cody Sandhagen. So like, yeah, it's just he's a different breed. But like I said, he shows up to the gym the same way he shows up to fight night, and it's just it's interesting to be around. But it's great.
You've had the opportunity to fight for the belt against Alex Pereira. You put on one of the biggest wars the world's ever seen in the UFC. Now, what are your thoughts on a guy like Alex Pereira, knowing his level, going back in there against Ankalaev and getting the belt?
That fight to me, I think the first one, we heard it in the build-up that, Alex was going through this and that, and even my personal opinion, being on the side of like main event back-to-back, that alone, there's a lot that comes with that. From, media obligations to travel and just having to pretty much hold up the entire card. So that year, I can't even count how many times Alex was a main event or stepping in to fight. So now, in hindsight, it makes sense that he looked the way he did in the first fight. And when he came in and beat him in the first round this time, yeah, that gave me the confirmation that, like, okay, this guy really is, as good as he's always been. And I think it's good for the division that he's the champion again.
With your fight against Alex Pereira, a lot of people were a little critical, saying, hey, maybe you should have gone in, done a full blast double leg, single leg, try to take him down, stall a little bit, maybe regain composure, regain your breath, and maybe even just see how good your ground game is. We saw you roll with legends, 13-time champion Marcus Buchecha, Nick Maximov, Jansen, Gomez, IBJF, two world champions back-to-back almost. He took a year off or he got hurt. And then we've seen your camp and we've seen how good you are even under Coach Bernardo out here. Do you feel like you should have used some of that in the third round against Yuri? Or do you feel like that's just not in your cards?
I can't say that I should have. I say that, yeah, it could have been useful.
Is it true that you refused to use it?
No.
So is that a bad narrative?
That's a very bad narrative. I refused, with a D, to use it against Alex. Yes, it was for the belt and everything, but I promised from the moment that I even called for that fight that it would be for the fans. And so that fight, I had an agreement, look, we're going to go toe-to-toe. I didn't say for the rest of my career I'm never shooting a takedown. Like that is something that has just been totally taken out of context. The reason why it didn't happen this fight is because that just wasn't my natural instinct in that moment, because everything was good until it wasn't.
I think that's hard for the fans to understand. We've been talking about it for 2 days, but maybe you can elaborate on that. Everything wasn't good until it wasn't. It's such a unique phrase because in MMA, it's so true. You can win 2.5 rounds, but one shot could throw the whole thing away.
Yes, a lot of times going against a guy in the light heavyweight division, we weigh in at 205, we come in the next day between 200 and 220, 230. So we're coming in 20 pounds heavier no matter what, right? We're rehydrated up, we're fueled up. We've been training like monsters for months to fight each other. Now, we're the best in the world too. Let's just put it right there. You got number 2 versus number 4. Baddest men on the planet. All it takes is one left hook to the temple to get your body to start
equilibrium thrown off.
Whatever happens that you really can't you can do your best to control.
Was that what it was, a left hook?
Yeah, there was a left hook that hit me on the high. And there was a big shot. When you play the UFC video game, sometimes a big shot and you see the character start flashing red and you've got to get him out, you got to back him out just to get him back to the, you know what I mean? When you're playing the game. So it's very similar. That's kind of a very real reaction. So when I say everything was good until it wasn't, was meaning like, yeah, I got into a mode where I needed to save myself, but he kept the pressure. So I'm trying to save myself, collect my thoughts, make the right decisions, the list of things that comes with that, all while he was putting pressure. And it was a timing thing, and now I get to, go back and work on what happens. if that happens again, what decisions do I make? And there's a lot of growth. Like this is the growth period in my life. Yeah.
It's part of the game.
Yeah.
For a lot of people who don't know your relationship, even with like say legends like Anderson Silva, you know, I met you through Anderson Silva and Gabe Silva. You were playing paintball at my SC Village Paintball and Airsoft Park. And you were in the camp, I think, for Izzy Adesanya?
Nick Diaz.
Nick Diaz.
Yeah.
And then I know that in the same camp, you had just gone home and Alex Pereira had just shown up. And you guys were both in the camp with Anderson Silva. And you guys were both training with him as sparring partners. And Gabe Silva was actually the one kind of managing, driving everybody around. Do you ever feel like the world of MMA is very small? Do you feel like knowing the fighters, knowing people's backstories, kind of watching people over the years plays to your advantage? Because you're a guy that's very intuitive. You like to watch tape. You like to look at fighters. Do you feel that fighting the same talent and everybody fighting the same people is actually making it harder for you guys?
I do feel like the MMA world is small, especially at the UFC level, because that's where everybody, you know, that's where we're at, and that's where everybody wants to go. So the funnel only gets smaller, and then once you're there, only a handful of people are getting through the door, right? So the MMA world is very small. I don't think that having to fight each other really makes it any harder. In a way, I kind of prefer it right now, because the guys at the top, in my opinion, are putting on the best fights. And so if you're a fan and you just like to watch guys who are good at what they do fight, then I think it's a pretty good thing for the sport.
We've heard some rumors of a potential rematch with Alex Pereira. We've seen the UFC and certain media outlets talk about what's next for you. People talk about your creativity in the cage is very hard to mimic. Do you feel like fighters have a hard time finding sparring partners to mimic you?
I don't think there is another fighter in the world that can mimic me. I mean, I can't even mimic myself. Like, you know what I mean? Like sometimes I have trouble recreating maybe something that I did in training 2 weeks ago. So is it possible to find another powerful light heavyweight? Yeah. Is it possible to find another fast light heavyweight? A lot less possible. Is it possible to find another light heavyweight that's athletic, strong, fast, and experienced? That's very hard. So I don't really know. You know what I mean? I don't know who guys are recruiting to help them train for me. To be honest, like, I'm not really concerned. You know what I mean? Like, well, yeah, line them up, and no matter what, I'm stepping in the cage to face who I have to face.
People in other sports and pro athletes have talked about lessons they've learned from big games like the Super Bowl and carrying that into the next season. And they have a long, drawn-out season with multiple other players and athletes that can help them achieve their dream. In the UFC and MMA, it's one person. Just like boxing, it's a very singular sport, and everything relies on you to go in there and perform if you want to be the best of the best. Is there something that you've learned from a certain opponent, a certain friend, a certain sparring partner, a certain coach that has carried with you or has helped kind of mold you into the fighter you are?
I think that I learn every day from the people that are around me. And I try to put that all into one blender, you know, and not even like as far as just like my fighting technique or this or that. Like I learn from, you know, from my wife, from my coaches, from friends. I just learn different things, and it gives me a different motivation for what I do. And I'd say the number one, the way that I could just like summarize it all is, I learned that I've got to just work hard. My visions are real. What I want in front of me is real. The people that I love are around me. And now it's just like, it's a work thing and a time thing. Like, just stay on my path, keep working hard. you know, what's out there is for me. And now it's just time and work. You know,
It's all it comes down to.
Every day, dedication, just time and work.
Timing is everything.
Something my wife told me, and it stuck with me for the longest time. And all of fight day is just like, she told me, you wake up every day, you give 100% effort to everything that you do. And today's just another day of you just doing the same thing. And that sat with me because I'm like, yeah, I mean, that's kind of the story of my daily life. When I wake up, I'm just doing everything to be 100%, whether it's for friends, myself, training, effort, being a better person, being a little bit smarter. Like I'm an all-in type of guy. Like I give my 100%. And so long as I do that every day, later on down the line, like something is to come of it, you know? And so it's little things like that I hear and learn on a daily basis that just keep me motivated.
You've been very active in designing and kind of culture and music and art through the years. I mean, recently you have an entire collection you designed with Santo Studio for Nordstrom. You have a brand new watch dropping with Jackson next season. The way you look at style, the way you look at art seems very unique. It's very to you, it's very personal. Does this creative style also reflect the way you put together training or the way you train yourself? Like, do you specifically train only certain body parts or only certain movements or only certain martial arts because it just appeals to you? Or is it because what you feel it's what it's going to take to win a world championship?
I do everything to make me a better all-around championship fighter, athlete, and just to really like reach the highest of my just like human potential. So I'm not only doing things that fit me. I am always trying to raise the bar and be better. But that also takes time.
Yeah.
You know, it takes time. Certain things can't be learned overnight or even in one training camp. And that's another reason why I'm looking forward to this time now to let the dust settle, because now I actually have the time to rebuild, you know, because 2 months in between fights and stuff, it's not enough time. Really? You know what I mean? Like, it's just not enough time. Like, you can't go from a purple belt to a brown belt in 3 months. You know, it's just like, unless you were already on your way to getting your brown belt. So taking that analogy, it's just like it just shows me, okay, there's room to grow. Now all it just takes is time.
And is it Muay Thai? Is it kicking? Is it striking? Is it jiu-jitsu? Is there a certain martial art though that you kind of gravitate more towards every day or even during your off seasons?
Yeah, I love Muay Thai. I do. I think Muay Thai fits my spirit. I think when like Muay Thai taught and done correctly, really represents a lot of me and my fighting spirit.
Did you feel you were able to use your kicks the way you wanted to against Yuri?
The way that I wanted to, I would say, yeah. I think that could there have been more kicks? Probably, but everything, like my hands and footwork were working enough for me in the first 2 rounds.
Easy.
I think like a head kick landed, a couple like teeps to the legs, stuff like that were landing. So yeah, my kicks were working for me, in a way that, you know, that was beneficial to me winning those first 2 rounds.
Do you feel like your striking was working the way you wanted it to work in those first 2 rounds? Because you were absolutely dominating him in that.
I would have liked my striking to do a little more damage. Really? I mean, he's a tough guy.
He's just made out of something different.
Yeah, he's
a
tough,
former champion.
You know, like he had wobbly legs a couple of times, and
did you feel you should have taken advantage of those moments now that you look back at the fight?
No, because with a guy like him, it's like, yeah, he's got wobbly legs, but he might throw like a backflip knee. You know, you just don't know. You get what I mean? Like, it's.
I mean, did those high knees scare you a little bit?
Not scare me. Like, it wasn't a scared thing. It was just kind of like unexpected it just came at weird times where like it came at times where he wasn't really selling them first. It just was like, it just came up, and it was like, okay.
So does it fall into the narrative that he does a lot of unorthodox moves to bait people into getting thrown off or thinking about something else? Like, do you feel it's a tactic, or is it just?
I don't think it's a tactic. I think that it just happens, you know? Like, I don't think that there was a big plan there, or maybe there was a game plan, but I don't really see that a lot of it worked. I really just think that he hit me and went crazy after. You know what I mean? Like, saw that I was a little bit maybe wobbly, and then just went crazy. And yeah.
And as we get ready to wrap this up, I mean, you've been very involved with Jackson, with the brand. You've been very involved with, high-level shoots like GQ, and kind of changing the narrative for high-level fighters of your caliber to do things outside that transcend MMA in a way where it's like you're becoming this like fashionable character. You have a full collection in Santo Studio. You have a brand new watch dropping with Jackson. You're doing a lot of things outside of the cage. Do you feel like you're still 100% locked into becoming a world champion while doing these things? And do you feel like kind of the fans and the community is starting to relate to you more as a fighter because they see how locked in you are, and that's what's making those opportunities grow?
Yeah, I think that I don't think that any of the things that I'm involved in now with Jackson, with Santo, are distractions at all. I think you have a great understanding of that, and that's why I love working with Jackson and Santo, because my fighting does come first, and it's not anything that really takes me away. The thing that we say here all the time, the one team, one dream. Always. So I know that everyone here, behind Santo and Jackson, everyone's behind me. Everybody's rooting for me to fight. You allow me to have creative input, so that's a cool outlet for the creativity that I kind of miss out on in training camp. It's just really like a perfect balance. Do you feel like you're getting to accomplish all the things you've been wanting to do outside of fighting? Yeah, I think that it's nice to, like, the things outside of fighting, from GQ to our podcast, it's really allowing me to be myself now.
Amazing.
And it's allowing the fans to see me for who I am, as a person and a fighter. And to me, man, like, that feels good, to just be able to, like, truly be seen. I'm not walking around some character. Do you know what I mean? Or like, people don't know me as just like, oh, this character that, that I have to build this character for myself, and that's how people are going to recognize me. It's like, no, I'm a badass fighter, and like, I'm into style and like men's jewelry and friendship and community. And that's how people know me, and that's who I am until the wheels fall off. So it's just, I'm blessed to be in this position. You did an amazing podcast with Joe Rogan, and as we get ready to wrap this up, last question is, you sat down with Joe Rogan, you talked about being a part of the community, like I said, Jackson and Santo Studio. You talked about being able to be who you are, and you talked about many times, I love this thought about not having to be a character, and you get to be yourself. Very close to that, and someone who did it before anybody was a guy like Rampage. He truly is who he says he is. He truly is as crazy as he is. He's not putting on a front. That's what makes Rampage so special. But we see the UFC going more towards a lot of these WWF style characters where people are putting on these personas, good or bad, but it's selling fights and it's helping blow up guys to another level. Do you feel like the fans actually know who you are? Do you feel like the message you've shown, which is, I'm willing to die in the cage to give the fans one of the greatest fights, do you feel like they finally feel that after this Yuri fight? Yeah, I think that they saw a bit of it in the Alex fight. They saw it in this last fight, and so I think that those two fights alone kind of show what I'm and like, I was gonna show like my grit and my toughness. And I was gonna end it with this just because I didn't want to be too harsh, but do you feel sometimes that's too much pressure on you, that's gonna kind of sway the way you attack, the way you finish? No, never? Because I even in my pre-fight interviews and stuff, like, I didn't ask for this type of fight. I didn't want this type of fight. That wasn't my plan. Like, I knew that it could go there. I wasn't gonna shy away from it, but I wasn't asking for it. Yuri kept repeating that it was necessary. Did you understand what he meant? I think I don't understand, but whatever he was going through in those moments, because I know that he ate some big shots. I know that there was some doubts. I know that there was some moments from his end where he was like, oh, damn. So maybe there was something that he had to pull from. Maybe he had to go to a dark place and to be able to land a good left hook to, you know, and he had to tell himself it was necessary to have to go there. Otherwise, he wouldn't have won the fight. That's how I see it. But who do I, what, you know what I mean? I'm just an observer. I don't know what it means.
Well, you live it at the highest level. And that's such a good point. One more thing before I let you go. You talk about going to a dark place to take it to the next level. That's the point that I think a lot of the people are wondering. It seemed like you started this fight being in this dark place to go to the next level. It didn't seem like you needed to go through the fire to level up, like he said. It seemed like you started with this edge. There was something that had thrown you off from the get-go because you wanted blood. You did not want this sensei martial artist looking, flowing with water fight. You wanted to go in there and just dismantle this guy. Do you feel that, or is that just me as a fight fan?
You're going to have to read the book, brother.
We're going to have to read the book.
You're going to have to read the book.
There's something there, and we'll get to it on the next podcast.
You're going to have to read the book.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, fans of Muay Thai around the world, and fans of Khalil Rountree, this guy is one of the greatest fighters in the UFC and soon to be a UFC world champion. Without a doubt, we're riding with him till the wheels fall off. You guys can see a lot of the training and a lot of the behind the scenes on the Jackson Behind the Brand show every Friday on YouTube, as well as these exclusive sit-down interviews. Don't forget to follow us on Jackson on Instagram. Don't forget to follow us on Jackson Podcast. And then we're dropping our brand new JX3 watch that Khalil's wearing right now. It's sleek, scratch-proof sapphire crystal with our brand new class. And it has an amazing locking system. It's a perfect everyday wear watch. It was voted the #1 menswear watch of the year. And we have our brand new Cuban link chain. So Khalil, it's always a pleasure and an honor to have you in here. If there's anyone who represents martial artists at the highest level with respect and honor and true dignity, it's you. And it's an honor for us as a brand to be able to work with you. And that's why we love this collaboration.
Love it.
Thank you guys for watching. I'm Bear Degidio. This is Khalil Rountree.
Thank you.